But I didn't have my mic on. Hey, folks. I'm just getting situated here. Actually, I'm a little late today. Usually, I'm not late, but there was a little excitement today, and frankly, I guess I forgot. I forgot about my live because things are a little exciting. If you're on Facebook, you might have seen that already. Just posted on Facebook real quick while I'm waiting for folks to show up. Mm-mm. If you're not on Facebook, then check me out on Facebook, or you can see a little bit on the Old Jarhead's Jeep channel as well. Maybe I'll share that for you guys on here. I was out wheeling with the local 4x4 club and had to rescue a Bronco today. Good guy, actually. We had a really good run, and he just got crossed up, and so I don't want to make it about a Bronco versus anything like that. But I'm going to go grab that video and post it on my main channel for you guys, for those that are interested. I'll post the short for you here. Let me get a shareable link. There we go. And let's go here. I'm just trying to get situated, folks. And by the way, do me a favor. Somebody, please let me know you can hear me. I'll try to return. Oh, okay, Todd. Try to return if you can. I'm just trying to get caught up here, folks, and get stuff posted for you. And we had a little bit of crazy. I'm actually posting that right now on my community page. We were out wheeling with the with our local 4x4 club, and on the return trip, things got a little exciting. So do me a favor, since you're out there, awesome to see you. Drop a comment in the chat for me right down there. Just let me know who you are, where you're from, all that good stuff. And somebody, please make sure you let me know that you can hear me, because the way these things work, sometimes that doesn't happen. So hopefully somebody can chime in and just say, yep, I can hear you. All right. And honestly, I try to do these lives about every 2 weeks. Part of the reason for that is I'm usually filming on the weekends and usually editing video during the week. So and since I'm usually filming on the weekend, that means I'm usually somewhere that I can't even upload from because I've got no coverage. So that's why I try to do this every 2 weeks, and I will always try to do them every 2 weeks for you. I may not always send out notices, though you should get notifications if you've clicked for the notification bell. And if you're new, I do these lives to answer questions. Andy, hey, thanks, buddy. Nice to see you. And I was mentioning to some earlier, I don't know if you heard me. I put it on my community page. I was rescuing a Bronco a little earlier. I'll tell that story tonight. So it'll be on the community page. It's also on the Old Jarhead's Jeep page. But if you just go to the Old Jarhead's YouTube page, it's on there. And if you have me on Facebook, you'll also see it on Facebook as well. A little exciting. I wish on these lives, and I will probably start using Streamlabs pretty soon, because it will allow me to put images up. I've been playing with it a lot, and believe it or not, I've actually used it for some club meetings to demonstrate some stuff as I'm practicing using Streamlabs. It's a little different. So right now I just like using my little webcam for lives. But big thing for these lives, besides channel updates, is if you've got questions about running your sawmill, about off-grid stuff, cabin stuff, forestry stuff, you name it, just life stuff, whatever you want to know. I try to answer all questions. So if you put your questions in the chat, then I will see them. Don't put it as a comment, put it as a chat. Then I'll see them. I won't see the comments until afterwards. I will still answer those. But if you want to get answers live, put them in the chat for me, and I'll answer them there. So, and usually what I do is give a few minutes to try to get everybody on board. I was late today, so I apologize for that. As I said, I don't know if Andy, have you popped over, or anybody popped over to the community page yet to check that out? Let me see if I can find a link for you. I might be able to put the link right here in this for you. Let me try that. Let's see if this works. See, does that work? Oh, yeah. There you go. Okay. All right. So if you're looking at the chat, folks, I just pinned that to the top of the screen. And all you got to do is click on that. And that'll give you a little insight as to why I was a little bit preoccupied and a little delayed today. And if you're into Jeeps or Broncos or 4x4s in general, then you might appreciate that. And I will tell you that right at the end, I put a couple pictures, and there will be a video coming eventually on my Jeep channel. I put videos out there every month or two. It's not like my main channel that I try to get them out 3 days a week. Though I don't know if anybody noticed, this week we had let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 videos. But normally it's just 3. And but over on the Jeep channel, I put them out mostly just if I go do something and they get enough good video to make something, then I'll try to put it out there for anybody interested in the Jeep stuff or ghost town trips we do or something like that. So that's all that one's about. But again, let me know who's here, and definitely if you have questions, one of the things I always try to say is try to get those in as early as possible. Because if it gets busy, sometimes it gets pretty busy. So if you get your questions in right away, then I will absolutely get to those as soon as I can. So it might be a low turnout tonight because, again, I kind of forgot. And frankly, I didn't even go out and advertise this one like I normally do. It's been a crazy week. So, oh, you just watched the Bronco rescue? I like that. Holy crap is exactly right. I will have to expand on that a little bit. What we need to do is try to get some more people to go watch it first, because if I just start talking about it, they haven't seen the video, they might not understand what I'm telling them. But yeah, holy crap, that was very, very, very close call for the Bronco. And Mike's a good guy. He actually is a member of another 4x4 club here, and so we did a big run today. We had about 40 rigs out there, and we needed to leave early. So Darcy and I joined up with Mike and his brother. He's in the Bronco, and his brother is in the orange Jeep that I don't think you can see in this video. But and we took off early to get out of there. So yeah. We took off early and we got in last. And I think the main group, there was 20 in our group, so 17 minus 2 more, so 15 kept going. 2 ended up following a little bit behind us, and that main group of 15 continued for probably another half an hour out into the dunes. And I'll tell you, folks, these dunes here are huge. You can spend 4 hours just driving around the outside perimeter. And so they spent at least another half an hour playing around past us, and we got in long after all of them. So anyway, good stuff. But well, I might as well tell that while we wait and see if we get anybody else to join tonight. Again, I didn't make a habit of, excuse me. Normally I make a habit of going out there and really posting links everywhere and letting everybody know I'm going to do a live. And I used to try to do them every Sunday. I really didn't do it this time. So while we're waiting for everybody to join, and as you join, do me a favor, drop a note in the chat, say hi, let me know who's here. And if you got questions, put them in early. And while I wait for everybody to join, I'll talk about this link that I posted at the top of the chat. So if you're new, there's a link up there. If you want to click on it, absolutely do. You're fortunate. I saw you had matching Jeeps almost. They were pretty cool. Oh, good off-road locations. Yeah. So for those that don't know, if you want to, you can click the link on top while we wait for others to join tonight or to get some questions out there. And before I do my channel update that I always usually do, I'll tell the story. So I am a member of a club called Rattlesnake 4x4 in this area, which is the southeastern part of Washington State. And I'm actually in the desert. So even though I'm in Washington State and the videos you watch mostly will have trees in them, I live in the desert. I have to drive to get to the trees. And so those of you that have seen like my Sawdust Roadshow videos, I'm really driving a long ways. Like to get to trees, I'm often doing 150, 200, 250 miles. So where we are, It's not a lot. It's high desert. And so I'm in this club, and we went to do a run today at the local dunes. It's a huge, huge place called Juniper Dunes. And we had about 40 rigs out there, and we split them into an advanced group and a novice group. And the novice group, we had already planned on this. We were going to do some training, teach them how to use their lockers, their, disconnects, wheel in the sand in 4-low, air down, air up, recovery training, all that kind of good stuff. So we went out, did a bunch of wheeling, had a good day. And then my wife, Darcy, and I, we needed to leave because I'd promised her we'd get back early. And so we hooked up with another guy that was in the group we were in, who's actually a member of another club. He and his brother needed to head back early. So the three of us took off and headed back. And there's kind of a main road going out of the area. So we hit that main road, we start wheeling back, and you're still wheeling. You're going to be wheeling for at least 30 to 45 minutes before you can get back. And a lot of kind of whoop-de-doos because the motorcycle guys are out there doing it. But anyway, we kind of got off track a little bit, and we realized we needed to do a little switchback and come back. And so if you watch that video, you'll kind of notice he's way over. He did almost go over. What happened was we had turned back to get back to the power lines, and he went up this first hill and then made the right to try to go up onto the main hill, but he didn't realize the sand was really, really soft there. So as he made that right, he kind of slid and dug in. Now he's got to back up. But the problem is that deep, soft sand doesn't always let you go where you want to go. And as he started to back up, the right rear of his Bronco climbed up a wall that wasn't soft, and it put him over 45 degrees, almost rolled him. At the time, I was below the hill from him. And again, if you're new, there's a link up top. You can click it. You'll see what I'm talking about. But I was kind of below the first hill because I was waiting for him to go up. And of course, rule of thumb for wheelers is, if somebody else goes up a hill, you wait for them to get all the way up before you go. So I didn't take off yet, and he had backed up out of my vision. So when he almost rolled, I didn't see him. So I got on my radio and I said, "Hey, Mike, are you okay?" And at first he said, "Yeah." Then all of a sudden he yelled something about, get a rope on me or something like that. So I didn't actually hear him. My wife, Darcy, heard him, and she said, he said, "Get a rope on him." And of course, at that point, I kind of freaked because I knew what that meant, right? That means he's going over. So I hit it hard, raced up the hill, got near the top. And you don't want to go over the top. If you can, you want to try to be on the other side of a hill if you can a little bit. That adds extra weight to your vehicle. So I sat just about right, jumped out, grabbed my trash, pulled my winch out, and just quickly hooked it on one of his tow points and reeled it in. It wasn't even the best hookup, to be honest with you. But at that point, I was just trying to keep it to go over. And if you notice in the short up on the upper right-hand corner, you'll notice his brother is actually holding on to the top of his Bronco because he's that worried. It was actually kind of teetering like that at that point until I pulled up the slack. And when you see me pull up the slack, and in the short, I don't know if you'll see it that well. You might have to kind of watch it a little bit to see, but you can see him settle back towards me a little bit. And we did get him out. Wasn't not too exciting after that. Once I got him latched on, we got him held there. Then we were able to get another Jeep, his brother's Jeep, up above, latch on him there. And then a guy in a Razor in our group spun around and got up on a hilltop, hooked up to him. We anchored him to another Jeep, and then we got him out of there. So anyway, if you haven't seen that yet, I pinned it up top so you could go check it out. I will be doing a video on that channel probably this week. So enough talking about Jeeps and Broncos and wheeling and all that good stuff. But if you do have questions about it, feel free to ask. But let's get back to my channel. And by the way, the reason I was telling that story for those of you who are new is because I was a little late. That's why I was a little late today. But okay, so quick channel update for you. We're continuing to march. I got a lot of new stuff coming up and some variety. I've got a water purifier that I was sent, and I'm actually really excited about because I did a job, and when you see the video, you'll hear me say this, but I did a job in a place called Walpanet, middle of nowhere, back in like 2016 or 2017. and it was a tent camping job. Literally, I'm out with a tent, and I had 10 gallons of water on me, food and drinks and whatever, and 2 days worth of work. Well, it turned out they didn't have water, and so a little miscommunication there. But they had this pond, and so I literally had to get brackish water out of that pond and use that in my lube tank, and it made it difficult. Things clogged up, made a lot of trouble. So I've got this thing I'm going to be testing soon that's going to allow me to filter all that heavy particulates out so that I could get fresh water if I want to, and it'll also do drinking water and things like that. So that'll be kind of cool. Hey, two brothers, good to see you guys. I saw John Davis join too. Thanks, buddy. So that's coming up, and then a company called Sun Gold Power is going to rescue me out at my cabin on my off-grid stuff. And so the deal there is, when I built my system, it was all with flooded lead acid batteries, and when I switched to LifeBow 4s, my inverter won't properly charge those. It'll provide almost the right voltage, so they're doing okay, but I really need to get the right voltage ramp and everything for them. And so I do have a separate charger I'm going to be putting on there, and trust me, I'm getting to the sawmill, don't worry. But so they came along and said, hey, we can help you out. And so I'll be putting one of those in hopefully in about a week and a half, and that's really going to help things out. So get to the sawmill, right? You don't want to hear about the rest of the sawmill. I do have the alternator, and there is a video coming up. Notice I said I do have the alternator. There's a video coming up in which I attempted to put it on. That didn't go so well. So in fact, in that video, I may mention something about talking to Joe Main. And for those that don't know, Joe Main is now also doing spare parts in any state that doesn't have a Wood-Mizer dealership already, right? So if you're in one of those 23 states and Wood-Mizer isn't there, he will ship to your states. And probably, I don't know if he's doing free shipping or not. I'd have to have Joe Main answer that. But I make a comment to that in my video because I got my alternator direct from Wood-Mizer and it was missing something. So if you've ever replaced an alternator on an LT40 or LT35 or anything with a Kohler 26.5 horse motor, you might know what that is. So, no, I didn't get my sawmill running. I expect to get it running next weekend. And that is going to be awesome because I am dying to get back to milling logs. I mean, holy cow, it's been a crazy winter. I had all kinds of plans to do a bunch of winter milling for you. And honestly, I left my mill up there intentionally. I said, that's it. I got to get milling done. I got to get my cabin addition done. I got to get the second cabin built. I need to do a wood shed, or I need to do an equipment shed, right? One that the rats don't live in instead. And so got lots of milling to do. And I was going to mill come hell or high water. If it was 2 feet of snow, I was going to mill up there this winter. And that just didn't happen. So, and one thing I've noticed with these mills, it seems like you get a hint of something coming up, but if you don't catch it right away, well, you might not realize what's going on. So I kept thinking I had a bad battery on my sawmill, and because it was behaving like one, really, frankly, when a battery starts to go, and I've replaced the battery on there before, they tend to act kind of weak sometimes, just don't seem to work right. Maybe they take the charge after a while, but at first they don't seem to, or whatever. Well, the battery's probably just fine, though it is getting old. The little solar maintainer I have on there is working great, but my alternator was only putting out just over 13 volts, and it just wasn't putting out much in the way of charging power at all. So it wasn't enough to keep things running. So it was absolutely the alternator. Yes, I'm going to get that replaced next trip. Not obviously this last one that I was going to. So the other thing with this last trip, I was up there and those videos haven't come out yet. That should be this week. It snowed to beat all hell on us. So if you watched any of my more recent videos, it looks like spring. It's nice. It's sunny. It's warm. Most of the snow is gone. And then we got dumped on about 3 or 4 inches. But that is the way it is up there. It can do that. I've seen easily get 6-7 inches or whatever in March, no problem. And I've seen snow on the north facing side of things, even into early May. So it is what it is when you got your sawmill up at 3,200 feet up here in the Northwest. It's going to get snowed on. So definitely do that. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the boom video. So I had a lot of fun with that. Mike Wilson is a great guy. We're friends. We talk sometimes pretty often, but and I just had to have a little fun with the whole fall down go boom thing, especially with a tree that really doesn't rate in the go boom category. That, and my camera was really too close to catch it like Mike does. Mike's got more experience catching trees falling down than I do, and falling trees, I might add. But I actually was really concerned I was going to squish that camera. But to be honest with you, I was pretty beat already, and I decided I didn't feel like walking up that hill, and it doesn't look like much, right? Video never shows you what it really is like, though you might have got some idea when I did the slow-mo on the tree bouncing, because you can kind of see it kind of bounce and do this teeter-totter rock back and forth. Well, I was probably down, I'm going to guess about 40 feet down the hill. Didn't look like it, but it really was actually down quite a bit further than it looks. And I was tired, and I was like, I'm not going up to move the camera. I got insurance. If I drop that tree on it, oh well, I'm done. Well, I didn't, but I will tell you this: you don't see it in the video, but the branches actually went in front of it and behind it, and so some of them, you saw stuff just start falling all over the place in front of it. Well, one of them was a branch that broke off in front of the camera. And so it was literally in the middle of some of the dead branches of that tree. So anyway, I thought that was kind of fun. But and then, of course, Mike posted a comment about something like, does a tree go boom if you forget to turn your camera on? And then his next video, which I watched, was actually pretty funny, because he goes and falls a tree to make it go boom, and his camera wasn't on. So you see him falling the tree, and then the tree's on the ground. Oops. So my wife asked the question, does a tree go boom when it falls in the forest if Mike Wilson isn't around? So anyway, sorry, I got a lot of sand in my throat and nose and everything else too, because the wind picked up today. All right. So definitely got a lot of thinning to do. I am not a faller, by the way. So if anybody thinks that I think I'm a faller, don't, because I'm not. I'm not a lumberjack either, if you've watched Mike's latest video. But I can make a tree go down and fall down and go boom, and most of the time it goes where I want it to. But I have absolutely fallen them where I did not want them to go, though I think everybody does at some point or another in their careers, right? But yeah, so moving forward, we will get back to sawmilling. Absolutely. We will continue to, I've got a lot more D-logs to make. I need to make at least 35 or 40 more just for the addition on the cabin, which I will also be doing, of course, the addition. But we did decide, I think I say in one of my last videos, that that's one of the projects for this year. We decided to nix that as a project for this year, just because we've got so much thinning to do that we're going to do milling and thinning more than anything, trying to build more on the cabin. So probably try to finish off the Taj McPrivy, and maybe do some siding on the cabin still. Definitely try to get the generator up on a concrete pad and fix all that generator wiring mess. So for those that are into the off-grid side of things, I'll be definitely doing more of that. And if you got questions about off-grid, don't be shy, ask them. I answer every question. So that's about it for channel updates. I do intend to keep 3 videos a week. That's my plan. I think I did 5 this last week. So sometimes I do kind of just try to do a few where I just kind of go out and give you my thoughts on what's going on. And so I don't do those too often, I don't think, but I will put some of those up now and then. And that's what I was doing this week. I just had some of those, and I thought I'll just go ahead and toss these up for you. See if you enjoy those. So, but anyway, questions. I absolutely am here to answer questions. So that's number one. If you got questions about sawmilling, YouTube, off-grid, hey, Jeeps, I don't care. If you got a question, I love to answer them all. Beyond that, I mean, let's continue to march on the channel to keep going. Those of you that know my back is trouble, don't worry. We're doing pretty good. I've walked about 70 miles now, maybe more. I'm doing 4 1/4 per walk now. So some of those are a little slow because this old jarhead hurts sometimes. Well, all the time. But so I'm really happy about that, because that means when I get back to running my mill, it's going to be a little easier to walk beside it back and forth all day long. No seat yet, so no one's offered to give me a seat. So, but all right. Honestly, folks, I can go on about all kinds of other things, but I really am here to answer questions as much as possible. So don't be shy when it comes to questions. I will not be on Rick and Tim, Two Brother Outdoors. What do you call that, Rick? The Forest and Sawmill Roundtable, I think they call it. I will not be on that next weekend. I'd love to be, but unfortunately, I'm going to be, well, not unfortunately, I'm going to be out in the woods. So, and I don't have cell coverage out there. So I won't be able to join you out there, but I'll be with you in spirit. Instead, I plan on fixing my sawmill, fixing my sawmill, fixing my sawmill, and getting some logs milled up. Now, I do only have about 3 or 4 logs that are barely. I think somebody mentioned sawing with Sandy had some toothpicks he was milling, and that's probably what I'll be doing. And I'm hoping to get out and get some bigger timber down so I could start getting some milling done. Forestry and Sawmill Roundtable. There you go. Actually, he's going to have Hudson on too as well. Isn't that right, Rick? So that's pretty cool that they're doing that. But yeah, we'll get some bigger trees. We'll get some big logs going. It's going to be gangbusters all summer long. So no plans to move the mill. There is one possibility of me getting back on the road. So, excuse me. If you've watched any of my Ghost Town stuff, we were in Shaniko, Oregon, our second time there this last fall for Halloween. It was a really cool trip. Actually, we had a lot of fun. I offered to mill new boardwalks for them if they got the logs in. So if they get a load of logs and want me to come down, then I offered to go down and do it for free, no charge. I actually thought about doing a kind of a subscriber camp out down there, but so many of my subscribers are all over the world. It'd be awfully hard for you to get there. So one day I do hope to do something like that though. So if you have ideas, thoughts you want to do get-togethers, don't be shy. I will try to do the big show here next year. It's a big forestry equipment, logging, sawmilling equipment kind of show out here. I forget what they call it, but every year they post it about 2 or 3 days or a week before the event. And by then I'm always locked into something else. So I've got to try and figure out how to get on that list, and maybe I'll get a hold of Woodmiser, and because they probably go to that. I know, Turbo Sawmill was there. A whole bunch were down there. So I may try to get to that one next year. It's usually either in late February or early March, and it's about 6 or 7 hours from me. But that wouldn't be that big of a deal. I can jump in my camper and head that way. Woodmiser next month. Oh, there you go. Marty Parsons on. But so we'll see about that. But if there's any other shows around in the Northwest, I'm definitely going to try to see if I can't make some of those. Why not, right? Could be fun. So I might be able to meet some of you in some of those shows. So, but other than that, it's going to be back to sawmilling. And I do have some other things probably I'll get to. I got to put an EMP shield on my well and on my solar power setup, which I need to fix. I got to frame in a door into the back room and get that fixed because I'm getting tired of picking up that door. And I will tell you this, out there at the cabin on these cabin videos, one of the challenges has always been that I am the guy that's going to go out and just go gangbusters until it's like time to leave on Sunday. And 9 times out of 10, I'm not likely to get everything finished or everything picked up. And then unfortunately, sometimes I just don't get back. And when I was running my sawmill as a business and I was on the road all the time, I was not only not milling for myself, but I wasn't out at the cabin trying to get stuff finished at the cabin. So in the beginning, when I first had my first sawmill, I was milling for the cabin and I was able to get so much more done. But as soon as you start pulling your mill to everybody else, not only do you not mill for yourself, but you don't work on your own projects, like, get the door so it's working in the back room at your cabin. And if you haven't seen those cabin videos, it might not make sense, but if you've seen them, you've seen us picking that door up and getting out of the hole. That's just because I never got back to get that finished. So got to do that. And those that have seen the videos that saw that I had a little flooding in there, Hasn't been an issue since. So it's really was really strange. It's obvious that it's happened before, but it looks like it's never been more than about an inch or so. And my LifePo 4 batteries are about 6 inches off the ground, so they'll stay up above the water anyway. So I'm not too concerned about that. But eventually, I will probably get them a little higher, just because lithium and water don't really mix very well, or they do, depending on your perspective. So, but again, as always, drop your comments in the chat here. Let me know where you're at. If you got questions, ask them. That's why I'm here. Um, Other than to kind of go over some of the stuff that's going on, I thought I would talk a little bit about this last weekend and the one before. So that you haven't seen the videos from the last weekend yet, those are coming. But I will tell you, when Tim and I got out there, it was awesome. I mean, the weather was absolutely gorgeous. We got a ton of slash burnt, and if it weren't for well, I'm kind of a dumb jarhead. I've got a 52cc saw, and I just didn't think about bringing it out. I need to do a little tune up on it, but I think if I'd had that smaller saw, I might have fell a few more trees. But you know, that big saw, when you're back shot like mine, it does wear you down a little bit when you're not used to it. And I was thinking about it afterwards. I was like, Eric, why didn't you bring your smaller saw out? It's got an 18-inch bar on it. It's perfect for smalling these little trees, or for falling these little trees. And I just hadn't thought about it, to be honest with you. So I told my wife, I said, I'm a dumb jarhead. I got a smaller saw. I don't know why I don't bring it. I'm not like, young guy Mike Wilson, who's out there hauling that big bar all around all day long, right? Yeah, he's about 8-9 years younger than I am. He's obviously in better shape, which is clear, right? But that's called, I've got several bad discs, and unfortunately, they have definitely held me back in the last couple of years. So we're getting back, though. All right. Okay, and for the new folks, if you heard me talking about rescuing a Bronco, I pinned that video up on the upper right-hand corner. It's just a short. I will be doing another one, but it's in the chat, and you'll kind of see what I was talking about rescuing that Bronco. It was a bit crazy today. Not about sawmilling, but absolutely crazy. So, but anyway. And I'm a little bit out of it today, probably because of that, because we got back so late and I got kind of out of focus. So drop questions. It'll help me get back in focus. Certainly, if you're here, hopefully you want to know something, and I'm happy to answer anything for you. I don't know everything, by the way. So the funny thing about YouTube is that sometimes guys like me, I've been milling since 2010. And I've run into lots of situations, but I would never tell you I know it all, because I don't. Oh, hey, my sister's here. Hey, Heather. Will you be doing any more milling for other people anytime soon? Not unless Shanico calls. If Shanico gets a load of logs and wants me to come down and mill for them, then I'll do that for sure. Otherwise, no, because I've got so much milling to do for myself that I'm trying desperately to do my own sawmilling this year. So we got to get the cabin done so we can get the addition done, so you got a place to stay. Two Brothers Outdoors, 12 volt boat bilge pump with float switch with remote battery for flooding. No, I don't really need that. Honestly, that room was built the way you build a cistern, so it should be completely waterproof. Unfortunately, we were rookies at doing what's called surface bonded cement and mortaring in general, actually. And so it looks to me like we kind of goofed on that one wall, where it looks like maybe we just did a sloppy job, and there's some pinholes in there that the water can seep through. So my thought there is, if I go in, grind that out, clean it all out, which is going to be a real challenge with all that electrical equipment in there, so I've got to think about it a bit. But if I did that, I could go back in with some more surface bonded cement mortar and just remortar that. And I think if I did that, that would solve that issue. But there's a couple other things I'm going to do as well that should fix that problem. One is, it looks to me like the water's coming in from a depression on the exhaust side of the sawmill, of the generator. So when the generator runs, of course, the exhaust melts the snow and ice and it pulls up back there. The plan has always been to put in a concrete pad there. So I think once we get the concrete pad put in and a roof over the generator, we can shed that water out past the edge, the walls of the room, and it slopes away back there. So I think once we just move the water out to where it slopes away, I'm not going to have an issue again in the future. So that's kind of my thought, getting that pad poured, getting the roof over the generator, getting things sloped away from that back room should all help to solve that issue. And again, it's super dry there. So, the most I've ever seen is about an inch of water in there. And I only say that because I could see the stains. And the stain was about an inch and a quarter up in one area. So it clearly happened, but it's been there since 2013. So we're talking, 11 years basically. And it's never been more than that. And I've had more than 2 feet of snow. In fact, the last winter or the winter before, I can't remember. I think it was last winter, we had snow banks of over 5 feet, and the accumulated snow was probably maybe as much as 10 feet. It was a lot. On the ground, we didn't have more than 2 or 3 other than those 4 and 5 foot snow banks. But we had a lot of snow, and I've seen other times where I've had like 3.5 feet of snow on the ground, and it all melted off, and we didn't get a big flood back there. So it was really kind of a surprise. So, oh, sorry guys, I still got sand in my eyes from wheeling today. Heather, I posted, I don't know if you saw, I posted a link up top there to a real short video on what was going on out there. So, oh yeah, I literally have sand. I had sand in my ears everywhere because then the wind picked up. And if you've ever been out in the desert and the wind picks up, you're in trouble because deserts are dry and that sand is fine and it just gets everywhere. So you're cleaning it out of your ears, the whole 9 yards. But yeah, Heather, when you check that out, you probably won't ever want to go wheeling in the dunes with us. We actually had a good group though. And 40 rigs is pretty crazy. We usually only get 5 or 6, not 40. So. But yeah, so anyway, if you're interested in the solar power stuff, don't be shy, ask your questions. I may be doing a windmill. I don't think I'm going to. But if the opportunity comes up for me to do one, I probably will because I've wanted to do one for a while. However, the power that we have today provides us all the power that we need. Frankly, we have no problems even in the winter. It's fine. The backup generator does its job for us. The big issue I have right now is that it's been patched together often in a hurry. And so the wiring is such a mess that it's got to stop. So I've got a buddy who's really fanatical about doing a good job on wiring things versus me. And I'm not the guy you'd hire to come out and wire something for you. I worked in R&D and things like that. Slap it together, make it work. And I can clean it up, but actually my buddy Robert's going to come out, and after he probably smacks me around a little bit, then he'll take over and he'll help me clean that up. So we're going to get some pipe put in, make sure we get some duct runs, clean all that wire up, make it look good. And looking good is important because then it helps it work better. But we've got to work on placement of some of the components in the back room as well. It was such a mad panic hurry to get it in there. We literally just said, I think it'll go here, and slapped her up on the wall. So it's good to have, it is good to have such good friends. Amen. There's Darcy. I don't think Darcy's ever been she's watched them occasionally, but I don't think she's been in the chat on one of these. But yeah, Heather, you that would not have been for you. Definitely not. If you saw that video, and if anybody else hasn't seen the video, it's up at the top, pinned in the chat. It's just a short, it's like 24 seconds long. It'll give you an idea why I was late today and a little distracted. It definitely got a little exciting. There was some pucker factor going on there. It wasn't my rig. It was another gentleman's rig that he almost had major damage to it. So, but yeah, so we got tons of work to do. Thankfully, my buddy Tim's been coming out a lot. Tim's a great guy, and he has been fantastic to have that help out there, especially because sometimes my back is just not working. And that he's saved me several times because I'm a dumb jarhead. I'll go pick something up I shouldn't. And so Tim's been saving my bacon this winter, I'll tell you that. But anyway, we honestly, folks, at this point, I'll be doing some 1-bys, D-log, lots of D-logs, some 2-by stock. If you want to see something or if you want to know something in a video, don't be shy and ask. I always find opportunities to try and demonstrate or show you things. I will probably go back over the 90-degree roll again since Michael challenged me. But if you watch Two Brothers Outdoors, one of their latest videos, they use a 90-degree roll. And I was going to ask Rick about that because a lot of times if you don't use a 90-degree roll, and what I'm talking about is you make that first slab cut, maybe make a flitch cut, and then you roll the log. A lot of guys that don't production mill typically roll 180 degrees. The thinking that they have, and I need to separate something here in a minute too, but the thinking that they have is that once they do that, it's easy, it goes flat on the downside, and they can cut to their width. If they're going to width at that point, they can cut to the width, and then they can roll it up, and it's easier to roll it up on a manual mill at that point and hold it in place. And Mike Wilson made a good point there, which is on manual mills, if you're working alone, it's easier to hold it in place if you do that. And I can't disagree with that. But one of the things that I've always tried to help teach people is production sawing. So there is a difference between production sawing and just, cutting some D-logs for yourself. Production sawing is all about trying to produce for the customer the best quality lumber you can in the shortest period of time. So you're getting 50 logs up on the deck and off the deck as soon as you possibly can do that. And you're rocking and rolling. That's what I call rocking and rolling. If you want a production saw, rolling 180 is not the answer. It takes too long, even on a hydraulic mill. So when I saw Rick do it, and I'm let's see, gotta cut short. Oh, he's got to go. So Rick didn't see it. But when I saw Rick do it, I was going to ask him a couple questions about that, because there's a couple things when you roll 90 that actually, if you start to do it more often, you'll see the benefits. And the key is to know what face you're working on, right? So the first face, you're opening it up. If you do like me and you run your hooks to the right, then you know that your stress is horizontal. So when you roll it 90 degrees, that means that you're now working on the height of the cant that you're going to mill. So you're going from opening face of the width to rolling it up to the height. And you don't have to take as much off there other than maybe just to get rid of any wane. Then when you roll it down again, you're actually working on width on that third face. And this is the key to higher production, if you ask me anyway. And I learned it from others. It's not like I developed this method myself, but the key there is that once you get to that third face, you've already got your 90-degree, perpendicular face already in the first two. And anybody that says, well, I got to roll 180 so I have a flat edge to clamp again or something to get it square, well, you got to do that anyway. So you're going to have to roll it. Eventually you got to do it. So if you learn to do it in the first two faces, cut that face, roll it 90, make sure it's flat against the side supports, cut that next face, you're 90 degrees, you're done. Your cant is going to be square. You don't, I've seen guys post on social media, I can't square up a cant. Well, if you roll it 180 degrees, you're more likely to make a parallelogram. If you roll it 90 and you get used to doing that, and you get used to seeing and reading that log when you roll it 90, you get that second face cut. That's the only time you ever see me pull a square out, typically, is on that second face. And yes, sometimes on big logs is when it typically happens, where you make that opening face, you roll it, and you just can't get enough on your side supports because you don't have enough of an opening face. And then yes, sometimes you get messed up there, and you gotta stop and reset and make sure you get it square. But when you get to that third face, that's when you set the width of your cant. So if you're going to make 2x6s and you only can get a 6-inch or 5.5-inch depth, whatever you're going to cut them to, fine. But if you're going to make 3 of them because you got a big log, and you're going to go with, around 18 inches, depends, right? If you're going to do 5 5/8 or 5 3/4 or 6 inch, right? You got to give room for your kerf. But if you do that on that third face, so you're going to have that round edge on the clamping side. And if you open it up and then drop down, 5 5/8 or 6 inches or whatever you're going to cut to, and then drop down that again, all you got to do now is roll that up to the fourth face and knock it to the deck. There's no more messing around. And that's the advantage of rolling 90 versus on a 180 roll. You take the top off, you roll it 180 degrees. You can't open it up the way I just did. You can't go and cut 3 because they won't sit right, because you're going to have, the wane on the bottom, the round edge of the log, the outer 2 pieces are going to fall down. It's not going to sit right. It's going to be harder to square then too. So you can't do what I just did if you roll 180. Now you can get your width, but then you got to roll it up on a round edge, cut that top off. Then you got to roll it 180 degrees and square that up. And if you're going to try to cut multiples, well, you got to do it in the middle there somewhere. It's a lot harder to do and a lot more time consuming. So if you do it on a 90-degree roll, hey, open it up, roll 90, open it up, roll 90, open it up, make your next cut or two to get your width that you need, roll it back up, and you're done. Knock it to the deck and get the next log on, and away you go. So I will probably try to do another one of those. I do have a video on rolling 90 that I did about a year and a half ago. And I actually did one, I think in the same video, I talk about rolling 180 because there are times that I do it. So some might think that I don't do it. No, there are times I do it. To give you an example of that would be if I have a customer that wants some 2x10s and they've got a log that I could get 3 2x10s out of, but the log's big enough that I could get some 2x8s and some 2x6s, but I absolutely know that I have to get them a minimum of 3 2x10s. So those, I can only get 3 out of it, but maybe that log is 13 and a half or 14 or whatever inches, so it's really not big enough for a 10x10 cant. Maybe I can knock out 6x10 out of the center, right? So if I can, then that's when I will do a 180-degree roll. I'll work my way down to 3 inches off the pith, and then I'll flip it 180 degrees, work my way down to 3 inches off the pith. Now I know I exactly have the width that I need to get the 3 2x10s, or I'll work my way down to 5 inches off the pith and roll it 180, roll 5 inches off the pith. Now I got 10 inches. Then I can roll it up and start knocking it down, and I'll get them 2x4s, 2x6s, 2x8s, and they're 3 2x10s. So I don't know if that makes sense. Hey, Arrowhead, nice to see you. Things are going good, buddy. I posted a link up top there for you, for everybody, if anybody's interested. It's a little shorts link that is of a little mishap that we helped out with on our way home today, which is why I was a little late getting started. So, but let's see. I saw a couple other things here. Let me catch up with you. Let's see. Got to cut it short. I would love to see you build an entry table for your awesome wife. That would be a video I would love to see. So I do have some English walnut that I've been holding on to now for a few years. And I have some projects for both Darcy and my sister Heather. One of those is an entry table. There's a couple benches and some other as a table I'm building for my sister. And I actually have a lot of that started. So I do have to get back there. Fortunately, I'm starting to spend more time on my feet, so we will definitely try to do that. So, Heather, I'd love to see a video that goes from you milling my walnut tree. Well, the milling of the walnut tree, we didn't get video on that, so that's long gone. Sorry. But absolutely, we'll try to do getting those other things put together. Yes, Arrowhead, the Bronco rescue. It's just a little short, longer video come out later. But so if you haven't seen the Bronco rescue, it's up at the top of the screen. I pinned it. You can click that. It's like 24 seconds. And it was a bit hair raising. Let's just put it that way. So, but anyway, so yeah, we've got projects. I still got to finish the interior of the shop. I have not gotten back to the shop to get the interior done. Honestly, if I'm able to, I will be trying to do that again soon. But if I'm not trying to walk and get back in shape and lose some weight, then I'm sitting here editing or getting prepped to go to the next trip to the cabin. So, and honestly, I just haven't been able to be on my feet long enough lately. So we hope to get back there. I haven't had the time to catch up with your videos. Well, Arrowhead, you're going to have to. You could make a video with the pics. See, maybe. Yeah, well, Arrowhead, I get it, buddy. I'll be honest with you. I've been so busy making videos that I rarely have had a chance to watch your guys' videos too. I did get to see Mike Wilson's, and I got to see Rick and Tim, one of theirs. But I need to get back and watch, MSD making sawdust too. Thankfully, he's back. He's healed up and he's back in action. Old Man in the Saw, all those guys, even, Jason Hamlow over at Northwest Sawyer. I haven't been able to watch his lately. It's tough, right? I can be editing sometimes 40, 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week. So makes it a bit of a challenge. But that's why we were out wheeling today. Get out, play a little bit, and have a good time and just do something different. I did film, kinda. I didn't really spend a lot of time doing video. Darcy got a lot of video of the recovery of the Bronco, which I'll be honest, it kind of was fun being a Jeep guy, helping a Bronco survive. Mike was a really nice guy, the guy that owned the Bronco, and he's also a member of another club. Super nice guy, and I don't want to rib him too hard. But yeah, no, it was kind of fun to get that picture of that Jeep rescuing the Bronco. If you guys don't know that story, when the new Broncos came out, there was a lot of people that got the new Broncos because they were going to beat Jeeps. Yeah, it's not going to happen. But anyway, so where are we at here? I might make this a short one tonight. We're just under an hour, so I'll give you about 10 more minutes. So if you got questions, please do ask them so that I can get them answered ahead of time. Especially if it's something about sawmilling. If you want to know anything about milling, Rob's Woods and custom sawmilling, do you always center the pith or just cut level to the bark for production? I'll be honest, for production, I center the pith. And the reason for that is parallel to the bark cutting always produces a wedge in the center. So yes, if you parallel to the bark mill, you can get a higher quality product. It's going to maybe be a little more waste, but maybe not. But it's slower, and it always produces a wedge at the pith. And that's more of a hardwood thing. So just as a caveat, I don't production sawmill for hardwoods. If I do hardwoods, it's usually yard trees because we don't have a lot of them out here. I've done a fair amount because farmers like black locust, for example. So they'll put a bunch in their fields, and then one day I mill them up. So I've done some big walnuts, some big maples, and that kind of stuff. But that's never. I don't think of those as production milling. That's more about trying to get what the customer wants out of them. If they're looking for certain grain patterns, or if they want Rayflex, which honestly 9 times out of 10 they don't. They want the big slabs. And but if for production milling, it's on softwood. So I probably should have mentioned that. Softwood production milling is different. It is probably more forgiving. You don't care what the patterns are in the lumber. You're not looking for a particular grain pattern. You're not there is no Rayflex. You're not getting that. What you're looking for is trying to keep knots in the wood, not on the edge if possible. You don't want to have a splits, your checks at the base of the log. If you got a big check, you need to look at that. But the most important thing and this is really for construction type lumber, right? Studs, that kind of paneling, flooring, that kind of stuff out of softwoods. You really want to look at the stress. And that's why you always hear me talk about hooks to the right. It's because stress to me is the most important factor when I'm trying to mill a log up for a guy that wants to build a cabin or a barn or whatever, because they don't want crowns in their studs, and they don't want, crowns. The only place they want crowns, in fact, would be in floor joists or roof rafters, that kind of stuff. You don't want them anywhere else. You don't want it in your flooring. You don't want crowns in your paneling. You don't want them in your studs. And so you need to know where that stress is, and so that you can place it so that your stress is vertical, as in going up and down like this when you start milling your boards out. And that does mean that you got to pay attention, right? Because sometimes you get what I call cant pop, which is where you set it all up. You got your stress is vertical. So anytime a board comes off, it's going to have a face bend, right? A face bend would be where the flat part of the board lifts a little bit like that, whereas a crown is when it goes like this, right? So you want to have face bends, not crowns. And you got to watch that though, because if there's a lot of stress in that log and you start taking off from one side, you'll notice that sometimes the cant will start to hump up in the center, or it'll pop up on the far ends. And when it does that, you'll notice it when the band comes out the far end, if it's going to pop up on you, because the band will skip off the end. When that happens, then you got to flip. This is when you go from production milling to working out the stress milling, because you're not going to go fast anymore. You can't. What you got to do now is flip it 180 degrees, take a skim cut off so that you take the hump out of it, or the hooks out of it if they're in it. Then you might take 2x or 1x or whatever you're taking out of it right there while watching the cant. Maybe 2 if you can get away with it. Then you're going to flip it 180 degrees and do it again. And you might have to flip it 180 degrees and do it again, and keep doing that until you've mitigated enough stress that it stops doing it. But at that point, you're not going to get your 400 or 500 board feet an hour like that. Your time's suddenly more important to get the stress out, and otherwise you're going to have wood that goes like this, right? You don't want that. So I don't know if that helps you answer that question, but yeah, I always center the pith, unless the log is super short and I can't get it underneath my rollers. Well, that's too bad then. Or sometimes if they're kind of on the thinner side, I'm getting maybe 3 2x6s out of it or something like that. I might not go ahead and do, if it's within a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch or something on a small one, I might leave it depending on what I'm doing. But typically I don't. And honestly, with hydraulic toe boards, it's easy enough to lift it up on one end or the other. When I had my LT10 and I did not have hydraulic toe boards, then I would more often than not center the pith. Although I did have a bottle jack on one end that I would use if it was really bad. But it depends on the logs, right? Some logs pith's pretty much centered as soon as it gets up on the deck. But it's all about stress. All right, what else we got? Got 12 of you here. That's awesome. And again, if you haven't seen it, there's a fun little video up top that I pegged for you that was happened today. Caused me to be a little bit late because I kind of was working on stuff and forgetting about things. But what else we got? We are at, we're just at about an hour. So if you got a couple more questions, let's get them in there real quick for you before I call it a night. I will do another one of these in 2 weeks, probably. So I always try to put them up and post them elsewhere, Facebook, wherever. I just got so distracted this week with trying to get videos out that I frankly just plumb forgot. And then got really distracted today. If any questions at all, off-grid stuff, solar power stuff, batteries, sawmills, Jeeps, YouTube. I'm not drinking bourbon tonight, so I can't tell you what kind of bourbon I'm drinking because I'm drinking water. Going once, going twice. Anything at all? All right, folks. Oh, wait. Somebody popped in. Do you keep a mill maintenance record? I kind of, well, not really, not anymore. I did for a while, but I record it so much online that honestly, at this point, my online posts and videos tend to be my mill maintenance record today. So no, I really don't. I probably should have. I used to record every board foot that I milled, as well as all maintenance and all my customers and everything else. But when I quit milling on the road, I kind of got a little bit lazy on doing that. And I was making videos and doing posts on like Forestry Forum and Facebook and whatever else. So I ended up kind of getting away from the maintenance record. But it is a good idea to do if you're not, putting it out there in the world. I can go find out anything I've done on my mill. I know exactly where I can go find it. So I'm kind of like I don't feel like recording it in 12 places, but I will put it in 11. Hey, cheers, Arrowhead. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for being here. Any other questions? Last round. And don't be shy on videos. If you ask me a question on any of my videos, I will answer you, and often in depth. I'm happy to do that. So don't be shy. If you're watching, even if it's not about that, if you're watching a video and you're like, oh, hey, old jarhead, do you keep a maintenance record on your mill? I will answer you directly in that comment as well. So happy to do that. You can also find me on Facebook, the Old Jarhead. I've even got a Instagram. I don't post very much to that though. So mostly I use Facebook and YouTube, and I do post stuff in the community page. Heather says, what am I watching tonight? Heather, I don't know. Blue Bloods wasn't on last night, so I didn't see a Blue Blood, so I was not happy about that. And then Homestead Rescue's over, so I guess, because I haven't seen any more of theirs. There's shows Darcy likes. We watch the Chicago Fire and PDs. Those haven't been on. No 1923. We're about ready to revolt against Taylor Sheridan or whatever his name is. I mean, come on, get Yellowstone and 1923 out, folks. But there's not a lot of real good TV out there, so I don't know. And YouTube has gotten kind of funny, and I have a lot of YouTubes that I subscribe to, but a lot of them have backed off on putting out videos. So I've noticed that a lot of them that I subscribe to now maybe put a video out once a month or something, like Bush Radical. I don't know if you ever saw him, but I like his stuff. And he's even got a wood miser. He called it a little wood miser that he's going to be putting up soon. But he's like maybe sometimes only once a month. So Oak Island, yes, Oak Island. I love Oak Island. I actually did a video about Oak Island a year and a half ago. But they're on, for me, they're on, I think, Wednesdays. And that's a story that I have followed since I was a kid. So like the Laginas, I read the Reader's Digest article. I don't even know when the hell, probably early 70s or something. Early to mid 70s, somewhere in there. And I've kind of, for me, it was always called the Money Pit. And that's just the way I knew it, right? And then they had this show come out, and I followed it. I keep saying I find the show very interesting from an archaeological standpoint, because obviously they're kind of rewriting North American history and nobody seems to know it. But they've got stuff there that they found that was clearly done, a long time ago, 800-900 years ago, which doesn't fit with most narratives here. It looks like at least the Templars or somebody else was here around 11 or 1200 AD, building stuff on Oak Island. So I'm not convinced they're going to find any gold or silver. I'm often wondering if they haven't put too many holes in the ground. It's like Swiss cheese now. But I don't know if they can, even if they get down at the bottom of the garden shaft and they open up the bottom of the garden shaft, I think it's just going to flood. So I don't know. Let me know what you think. I did a video actually. Gosh, I don't know when. Oh, I did a video. I want to say it was in 2021. Might have been 22. And it's okay. I'm gonna go look for it. If you want, I'm gonna go find this video for you. Because it was kind of fun, and I was thinking about actually about sawmilling and the difference in how they made all of those big heavy beams, right? They did it with adzes and axes and hand saws, and and you think, holy cow, right? Like, how does that even, I just can't even imagine. Here we are today talking about using modern sawmills, and these guys were out there literally with hand tools crafting boats and all kinds of things. And I'm almost there. I'm going to find this video for you because it was kind of fun. But and I thought it would be fun to just like get a sawmill over there and mill up some beams for them. Pull some oak down. We'll turn it into something for you out there. But so yeah, I was watching Oak Island, and I couldn't help it. I had to put out a video on that, and I'm almost there. Let's see. Monster slabs. We're just Semper Gumby. I don't know if anybody's ever asked me about Semper Gumby. Let's see. Almost there. Oak Island. Here we go. This was The Curse of Oak Island. That was what I called the video. Well, no, that's what the thumbnail was. Hold on. There we go. Okay, ready? Here we go. Yeah, Naked and Afraid is another good one. That one comes on for us, I think, Monday. So I think we watch Naked and Afraid Monday and Oak Island on Wednesday. Usually Blue Bloods on Saturday. Halo. I don't know if anybody watches Halo. I like Halo. That's Thursday night for us. That's a sci-fi, but it's kind of fun. So, all right, there you go. Kevin Aldbrecht. I don't think I've seen your name before. Hopefully, I didn't butcher it too much, but glad you're here, buddy. And I just dropped my Oak Island video for you. I think that video goes back a ways. Let me see. When did I put that video out? Let's find out here. That video has been out for 642 days, almost 2 years. Holy cow. So there you go. All right, folks, I think I'm going to call it a night. So I hope you all have a great night and lots more coming. So keep an eye out for it. Check out that little Jeep recovery video on my Jeep channel. That video will be coming out. If you haven't seen my Jeep channel, I can, all you got to do is look for the, I think it's called the Old Jarhead's Jeep. I'm pretty sure. Let me see if I can find that for you. Well, if you click that link, actually, that'll take you to a short that it's the pinned link way up top. That'll take you to a short on that channel. You might find some of that interesting. That's more of kind of my fun YouTube channel. Not that this one isn't fun, but that one's more. I don't put as much content out. I'm not as serious about that channel. This one I am. So again, I'll be putting out 3 videos a week into the future. But that one's kind of some fun stuff I do on the side. So if you want to check that out, I think there's some good videos in there. All right. Have a good night. Rob, thanks. And the rest of you, thanks for being here. Y'all have a good night.